Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Crypto News Podcast. We are buzzing as always, and I think we are on the 6th or 7th episode with another Matt in this space, another Matt Squared episode. And fun fact, folks, and Maddie, I don't even know if you're in this group. I should have asked you beforehand, but there is a Telegram group called the Mattyverse, and I think there's 380 Matts. It's an invite only, and it's only for lads in Web3.
Can I get in there?
Yeah, you bet I can send you an invite. Lads in Web3 with the name Matt/Matthew. Crazy 380 of us, now 381. But it is time for the intro. Today we have Matt Duea on the show today, entrepreneur and co-founder of Roobet. You guys know who Roobet is, the betting brand for the next generation of gamer and part of the group behind Roobet.fun and Roobet.com. Been pumped for this one for a hot minute. As you guys know, I like to dabble in sports betting every once in a while. And when you can combine sports betting, casino, and Web3, we're in for a treat. Maddie, welcome to the show, my friend. How you doing?
Good, man. Thank you for having me on. And yeah, I'm excited to be here. I've been looking forward to this one too.
Likewise.
Let's get into it.
Pumped to have you. For the listeners there's about 80% of you are listening. For the 20% that are tuning into the beautiful YouTube and TikTok videos, you guys see Maddie's hair. Maddie's got some nice blonde flow, a Minnesota lad. If you guys have not seen the Minnesota high school hockey videos, guys, please go to YouTube. Please check this out. Flow is a term in hockey or in sports when you have flow like myself or like Matt's. Matt's is nicer than mine. And they all dye their hair bleach blonde and they roll out to the blue line and they do this little head shake and they got these funny little moves. It's absolutely electric. So do go check that out. But Matt, we love the hair. Right. You're off to a great start.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's funny. It's like, it's definitely a Minnesota culture thing. When you said the Minnesota high school hockey tournament, there's so much pride in the state about that. It's insane. It's so cool that you know that, but of course you do, being from Canada and all. It's winter out, grow out the hair, just kind of got the sweatshirt on, keep it casual.
I love it. Let's jump right into it here. For those at home, most of you guys already know who Roobet is, one of the big behemoths in the space, crypto, casino, sports betting, you name it. It's an absolute treat. We're going to get into a bunch of the nitty gritty, but you're the star of the show here, Maddie. Give us the lay of the land. What did you do before Roobet? Tell us a little bit about your background and sort of how, you and the team all made this happen. And then we'll get into all the fun stuff with Roobet.
Yeah. It's a fun story. So I've been doing digital marketing for quite a while, and I fell into blockchain maybe like 2017 or something like that. I started to really get interested in blockchain, crypto, and things of that nature. And I fell into it in an interesting way because I was hired on the marketing team at a place called OP Skins. They're no longer around, but they were basically a digital item sort of trading type of company. You can think of them like a PayPal or something like that for CSGO items. And when sort of poking around that whole crazy world of people sort of exchanging and trading these virtual items, there's a natural sort of overlap with what we sort of think about with NFTs. We think about with, just items, digital currencies in general are sort of a very gamery type of thing. It's very familiar to a video gamer, even back in high school and stuff when I was playing video games. I remember, you'd go onto eBay or something and buy some of the digital currencies, some of the in-game currency from eBay using PayPal. And so, digital currencies are really familiar concepts to a gamer, and getting involved with that company just let me sort of full-time, full steam, just go all the way down into the whole culture on Twitter, bumping into these new platforms, really started digging into Telegram and Discord communities and things. And throughout that experience, met a lot of people. And ultimately, that company joined with a blockchain company. And so in 2018, I was first introduced to this concept of NFTs and this whole concept of how, what if through tokenization you could, have serial numbers on digital items that would allow you to prove scarcity, provenance, authenticity, and we were doing all kinds of cool stuff as a marketing team, sort of introducing these concepts to the world. And I was just enamored by it. But it was 2018 and nobody cared, like, at all. And we were very convinced that NFTs on Ethereum would just never work because it's too expensive, it's too slow. But obviously, I mean, look, early predictions are risky, and it just turned. I guess in a way, that company was right in its philosophy of Ethereum being very expensive for NFTs. But I guess the thing that was wrong was people were willing to pay the gas to kind of go through all of that. But like I said, throughout that, it led to allowing me to educate myself full time, just in this, in the aspects of blockchain that I'm interested in, and its sort of convergence with video games. And that's kind of, I met a few like-minded people there, and when they had a new project kind of rolling up, that is how I sort of got on board. So yeah, we're kind of born out of that CS:GO sort of type of community, you know.
Maddie, that's a great primer there. Let's jump right into Roobet for a sec. Give us the lay of the land on Roobet, sort of the 360 TLDR elevator pitch on what exactly you and the team have built, what you guys do. And I'd love if you could get into sort of a couple of the different areas, not just sports betting, casino, obviously partnership with UFC, partnership with Snoop. We'll save that stuff for later on, but like just sort of give us all the things you can do on Roobet and sort of why Roobet makes sense in comparison to the traditional Web2, DraftKings, blah, 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 blah.
Yep. So Roobet, the way that I explain Roobet is it was founded by an online community with kind of our online community in mind. When Roobet first started, it was, which was actually before I joined, it was really just a few games, house games. And part of the reason why crypto makes sense for businesses like this is it all sort of hinged on a provably fair mechanism that helped everybody feel confident that outcomes can't be manipulated and everybody understands kind of how that works. So at the time, there was only a few games on there, and it was a small, quiet, sort of little sleepy community. And I guess slowly, what has happened throughout the entire industry, we had this game on there, and still have it, called Crash. If you've never seen Crash, you'll know the first moment that you see Crash. It is one of those games where you control the outcome, more or less. It's kind of like a press your luck sort of mechanic. How long are you going to stay in? Where basically you enter a bet, the rocket takes off, and you kind of decide when you're going to cash out. But you have to cash out before the rocket explodes, or you'll lose your money.
It went so viral on socials. I saw a couple on Roobet as well, but like every platform, Crash went parabolic. It was insane. Sorry to interrupt. Just had to throw that in there.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a crazy time, and combined with COVID and all that sort of stuff that was going on, where everybody was kind of just locked inside, paying attention, really, I would say, really paying attention to their like digital selves and the way that they interact with friends and family when they can't be in person.
So true. So true.
Yeah, it was like betting had sort of a golden kind of moment. And so combine that with, I think Roobet's Crash is one of the best implementations of the game. And at the time, we were one of the only people with it that were really out promoting it. And, and to this day, we have a house version of Crash. It's not like ported in by a third party or anything like that. It's ours. And, yeah, I guess the world loved it. So that was a huge part of how people got to know Roobet. The rocket game is what a lot of people would, I guess, associate with us. From there, we've continued to add house games. We've continued to add all of the biggest sort of global providers, slots. We added a sports book. But on top of all of that, we have a very unique reward system. And we've really tried to stay true to our kind of gamer, crypto first type of mentality when it comes to product. And I like to say the reason why we don't look like your typical casino is because we didn't come from that space. Like I mentioned, we came more from like the gaming space. Yeah. We're video game enthusiasts, and we just spend a lot of time on our computer, which is probably a very long-winded way of saying that we're nerds. And we just liked hanging out online. And in that moment, when everybody was locked inside, I think nerds really stood out.
Yep.
because we were the ones that kind of knew how to play around and have a good time and engage with people socially online. So we like to say Roobet's more than a casino; it's a club. And, we might not be the biggest, but we want to be, the best, the most interesting, the most fun. And so the reason for Roobet.com and Roobet.fun is because depending on what jurisdiction you're in, we want to make sure that
Yeah.
we're always building product that people can interact with. So yeah, man, that's kind of what we're up to, and that's what we're all about.
I love that, Maddie. One of the questions, I mean, look, we can get in. One thing that I really want to touch on is the difference between Web3 gambling and
Mm.
Web2 gambling. And I just
Yep.
want to save that for a little bit longer down the road because a point that is still just buzzing around in my head right now. We talked about the crash game. And again,
Yep.
for the listeners at home, it's sort of like picture a cryptocurrency chart. Then you sort of ride the rocket up the chart. Again, you guys have seen it everywhere. It's one of those
Yep.
things where you don't really know the game, but you know exactly what it looks like.
Yep.
Similar to a lot of times when you walk into a casino, you see different slots or games. You don't know what it's called, but you're cognizant of it.
Yep.
One thing I'd love to touch on, Maddie, is the prominence and sort of explosion of gambling-based streaming. This is something that I see in my feed 24/7. I
Yep.
mean, I'm not a big social media guy besides Twitter. Twitter's the only social media that I'm addicted to and spend, candidly far too much time on. But I still do need to, tune in to the Gen Zers, to the TikTok every once in a while to know what's good when it comes to marketing. That's my job. Every time I tune in, I'm seeing Aiden Ross, I'm seeing XQC, I'm seeing these massive, massive streamers who get, 6-figure views or high 5-figure views gambling millions and millions of dollars. You see Drake gambling millions and millions of dollars.
Yep.
It's sort of electrifying, even though the viewer has no skin in the game. Like, this is crazy. Did you guys see this blow up? Like, did this start during COVID? Me personally, I thought that this would stop present day in 2024. I thought, hey, this is COVID. People are bored, just like to what you said earlier. But this shit is still going parabolic. Like, what's going on here? And how has this sort of helped you guys? And on the regulation and marketing side, are you guys fully allowed to take advantage of this? I know there's a lot of sort of wishy-washiness, but give me the goods here. What's the game plan with this?
Yeah, really good topic, and a very complicated one, but we could probably go on this one for a while, and I think people will be interested in it because it is now an embedded form of entertainment for a lot of people who watch streamers. Like at this point, I would say, I mean, I actually don't know what the actual percentage is, but let's just say 20% of the people who seem like they're streaming are also involved with a betting or a gambling company of some kind. The thing about sports betting is it was probably it was obviously always around, but it was never, it's not that entertaining to watch. But casino content is very entertaining to watch. And similar to watching, I guess, like maybe your favorite streamer playing a video game on that last level, trying not to die.
Quick dopamine hits.
It's just
bingo.
It's right now, and you're riding the swing with them. And I guess throughout the last whatever it's been, like 3-4 years, we always have worked with streamers. I would say, when I say we, I mean just kind of like the group, the community, that kind of brought Roobet to life. Influencer marketing is an interesting sort of very close knit group of of people who a lot of people know each other in that space. It's a small community, as you can imagine, and we were doing deals with people, like I said, back at my previous company. We'd work with streamers and influencers, and that was just for like CS:GO sort of stuff. So we really, for a lot of these guys, we've been working with them since 2016. Long-standing relationships, but yeah, the sort of parasocial relationship, which I feel like is the best way to sort of describe it, is like you are connected to that person gambling at that moment. And I don't know if you've ever like been to a casino with a buddy who likes to, plays very high bets or kind of like goes in the high roller section. And I think watching people play like high stakes blackjack and stuff, like even in person, has been a thing for a really long time. It's fun to watch people go big. And so really that sort of form of entertainment, which was only happening in kind of back rooms at IRL casinos or the high roller rooms at brick and mortar casinos, it just kind of came online. Yeah. And people love reaction content. People love reaction content. And what's more raw or, organic content than watching somebody lose tens or hundreds or sometimes millions of dollars, while playing or something like that. It's wild. But no, I don't think it's going away. I think it actually, I think gambling and sports betting, as it becomes more and more sort of familiar to most people, it just monetizes better for content creators than advertising, and it monetizes better than merchandise. So it only makes sense that the biggest creators on earth would eventually, move to that. And there's been obviously a handful of companies that have really sort of enabled that transition more. But I think when it comes to working with influencers and kind of doing gambling content right, yeah, Roobet was there right at the beginning. It is a large part of how we came to be.
I love that. Maddie, we're going to take a quick break, give a huge shout out to our sponsor of the show, Prime XBT. And when we get back, we're going to keep buzzing on Roobet. We're going to get into some spread stuff, which I can't wait to get into. And of course, the difference between Web 2 and Web 3 gambling platforms. First and foremost, huge shout out to Prime XBT, longtime friends and sponsors of the cryptonews.com podcast. Prime XBT is always offering innovative layouts and widgets to best fit anyone's trading style. Doesn't matter what kind of products you are looking for, they are always offering professional trading conditions to all customers and are offering an exclusive promo for listeners of the Crypto News podcast. The promo code is CryptoNews50. That is CryptoNews50, all one word, to receive 50% of your deposit credited to your trading account. Again, that's CryptoNews50, all one word, to receive 50% of your deposit credited to your trading account. Now back to the show with Maddie. Let's jump into the question that I know tons of listeners, this one is not for me, this is for the listeners. Again, I'm a gambler, so I get this, but I'd love if you could give us the goods on the difference between you guys, a Web3, and again, when we say Web3, folks, we're talking about this is Web2 tech, right? This is a beautiful, easy to use, slick, efficient platform that allows you to gamble with cryptocurrency. That's when I say Web3. It's not all, there's ZK tech, this, roll-ups, this, modular, that. No, this is a clean and easy platform similar to your DraftKings, similar to, any other Caesars, any other platform that you use. It's almost identical, except you have the opportunity to use crypto. Besides that, or even with that, I'd love if you could sort of give our listeners the difference. What's the difference between you guys and a Web2 gaming platform?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the major difference is that we support crypto at all. I think it's obviously difficult for every brand, especially, big brands, to all of a sudden adopt a new type of payment. I always think back, like the most extreme example is, when we integrated Doge, it was a perfect example of how, a digital currency like Doge, the whole world makes fun of it and says, like, what is this for? Who's paying? Who's doing? What is this for? Right? Well, who it's for is the Doge community. Who it's for is the crypto community. Yeah. And we like to say who it's for is Roobet, because we're right there making fun of it with everybody else. And I mean, everybody can speculate on what the intrinsic value is of Doge, but like once you're done sort of arguing over that, if you want to gamble it, come on over to Roobet. It's you're not going to find that on you're not going to find that mentality obviously on every brand. But I hope that over time, crypto, as it's better understood, will become more and more popular and will become more and more accessible on every betting platform that everybody has access to. Because that's the other thing, is just not everybody has access to, platforms like Roobet. So, I'm generally a crypto fan first. So I would love to just see this technology more celebrated and a little bit less demonized. And I don't think SBF did us any favors in this industry. And I don't think, I mean, look, we're all used to being a joke. We go from like people sending you texts to being like, hey, you think now's a good time to buy Bitcoin? To like,
that's which is right now.
I know.
And then in 2 years, when we go back to the bear market, hey, Maddie, both of us, what are you guys doing right now? Still working in crypto. Really? It's like, are you poor?
It's not over.
Well,
Yeah.
It's same old. Show goes on, baby. Show goes on.
That's right. Yeah. It is right now. I'm glad you said that. Yeah. It's like literally, it's starting to bubble again.
I've been getting the texts of you.
Yes. And I know that it's like a problem when people, it's not a problem. It's, it's good. Like I said, I want to see crypto succeed. I want to see people, make money and ask questions and dig
Yeah.
in, before you enter into, buying some Bitcoin. Once you got skin in the game, you start paying attention. And the more
Yeah.
people that get skin in the game, yeah, I like that. And I think, yeah, I think over and above even something, even just like Roobet, obviously, obviously committed to seeing the project succeed. And that's the goal of all of this, of course. But also what led us all here is just a fascination and a love for, I think for crypto stuff, Bitcoin, digital currencies, gamer, the sort of proliferation, of internet culture.
Yeah.
All that stuff is fun. So I think first is that mentality, right? Is like if you went to, depending on where you play, if you go to that, to that operator, odds are they're not going to speak about crypto that way. And from a licensing standpoint, most can't. They can't really
Yeah.
touch it, and that's part of the reason why Roobet and we I'll talk about roadmap maybe at some point here or maybe on a future discussion or whatever. But Roobet as a brand wants to transcend a lot of different types of products. Like I said, grow the community. But where we are today is there are very few licenses out there that are willing to support a brand who is trying to innovate using this type of technology. And I think that that's too bad. And I think it's going to change over the next few years. I think you'll see a lot more people obviously adopt it. But obviously with that, with these bull markets, we all know these bull markets are what allow people like SBF to sort of steal the entire narrative and rug the whole play, rug everything, masquerading as a crypto person when actually none of the virtues of crypto were being upheld by that whole situation. So anyway, yeah, I think what Roobet's trying to do is bridge the gap between Web 2 and Web 3.
Yeah.
And it's trying to be easy to use, like you said, Web 2, but while, sort of introducing people into the fun ways that you can play around with silly things like Dogecoin. That's fun, I think. And that's the product mentality that we have. So if you play on Roobet, you probably have a little bit of that in you. And we like to call that the kangaroo streak. I don't know if you realize Roobet's kind of a nod to kangaroo. But yeah, so we love a good kangaroo metaphor around. But, that sort of playfulness, that fun, that just a little bit of weird unpredictability, surprise, that is the kangaroo streak. And so if you play on Roobet, you might be also the same type of person that buys a little bit of Doge or buys a little bit of sheep. Yeah, because it's a little weird.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Partnerships, big thing in growing Web3 casinos and anything betting related. There's a lot of competition. It's not easy to stand out. You guys have locked up some huge ones. I'd love if you could talk about the Roobet.fun, official social casino of the UFC. That's absolutely huge. And obviously just talk about what exactly a social casino is, how that differs from a traditional casino, and then also jump into the Chief Ganjaroo strategic partnership with the one and only Snoop. D-O-double-G. Guy's got a massive following, very, very loyal fans as well. And he's messed around in Web3 a lot. I think he still rocks an ape as his profile pic. I could be wrong there. Obviously everyone knows him for, for being a ganja head and smoking weed all the time, but has done a lot of newer age fintech based partnerships, and this one's really cool. So I'd love for you to get into both those as well.
Yeah. So UFC also we started sponsoring fighters and kind of getting involved with them, and we love a good underdog story. Like I said, we view ourselves as the underdog always, and we kind of bring that mentality to the table. And the underdog usually has to come up with new and surprising, sort of ways to keep going, and can't just sort of sit back and, like I said, maybe enjoy the perks of being the favorite or something. So we try to tell that story through the fighters that we work with, even though we work with big names and stuff, and underdog might not always apply. But the most interesting thing about the UFC is obviously the brutality of the sport, combined with the origin stories of the sport, is just a fun thing to be able to be involved in, to help tell that story, to help, support these kind of like real life sort of action figures almost, where they're, they go in and they just, they don't know what's going to happen. As it is, like I said, it's a brutally interesting is what I was going to say, but sort of sport, and it really gets your adrenaline going, just being around it. So I think
Yeah,
that's
it's
for the
crazy.
brand. Yeah, it's fun, and we're honored to to be able to kind of be a part of that story in whatever way. With ambassadors like Snoop, Chief Ganjaroo, that was a fun one. Snoop shares a lot of the same, I think, virtues as us. And also, the longer that we work together, the more you just see, you have to respect sort of the classic approach to business that Snoop has. He's an easy person to look up to, very old school in a lot of, in a lot of ways. And you can just kind of see it in the way that he conducts business, very straightforward. And I think when it comes to crypto, and when it comes to entertainment, and when it comes to supporting creators like early stage, when it comes to helping people own their work and build platforms under themselves that allow artists and creators to feed themselves long term and build businesses, those are the things that very early we realized that Snoop connects with. And I think it's deeper than just a better betting sponsorship with him. And you're right, he does rock Dr. Bombay as his
Yeah.
profile, and he's got. I mean, he wears Dr. Bombay, and Dr. Bombay is almost like an alter ego. And I think that that's like a. I mean, it's the perfect way that that we I think all see this kind of going is like these digital alter egos, and the partnerships are just cool opportunities for us to, like I said, be a part of the story of a lot of these very long-standing legacies and be a part of the innovation, that they're kind of constantly pushing for. So I don't know if that answers your question or not, but
No, it
it's
does. It's just it's cool to hear how those sort of come to fruition. Because again, it's like, and this sort of leads me into my next question. And I hate to be the guy that I never like touching on anything even slightly negative because it's candidly just not fun. But
yeah, go
again,
for it.
a lot of people just segueing into the next point in regards to like getting credibility with the
Mm.
UFC and with Snoop Dogg, two very respectable figures in the
Yep.
space.
Yep.
Whenever friends ask me, like, hey, what's, I keep getting these ads for crypto casino, or Matt, I have a friend who uses Roobet, or I have a friend who uses Rollbit, or I have a friend who uses whoever.
Yep.
Should I use it? I have a friend who's on stake. Drake's on stake. What's, you know what I mean? What's good here?
Yep.
You guys are regulated up the yin yang. Like you guys are regulated just as much as the DraftKings and everyone else. But why?
Yep.
Why aren't you guys front of mind and in the States on billboards like everyone else? Because you're not spending, millions of dollars on lobbying every year like they are. That's really sort of the big difference in my mind. Obviously, you know way more about this than I do,
Yeah.
but it would be shitty of me to not ask on behalf of my network and the listeners. I'm sure everyone wants to know what is the regulation like? How many conversations have you guys had with regulators? And just touch to sort of how, the KYC process and how safe and secure everything really is in the space and at Roobet. All that as a whole, I think that'd be great. And I think our listeners would really appreciate that.
Sure. So should I trust this platform? It's a good place to start. I think that if crypto does anything, it starts to lower the barriers of entry to some of this because it is, I mean, crypto, a core tenet is supposed to be trustlessness, and that's supposed to enable, groups of people to interact and transact online in a trustless sort of fashion, or like a fashion that allows for less trust. Right? I mean, I'm preaching to the choir here, but I think we try to let the product speak for itself. But yes, the endorsements from big names, of course, helps. A lot of people think, oh, you sign a big sponsorship and it just yields a bunch of customers. It's not really how it works. It is more of a trust building thing, and it takes time to build a brand that people just at face value just trust. I think for a while there, Roobet just assumed that our leagues of customers combined with blockchain and crypto, provably fair stuff, would just kind of do the work for us. But it didn't exactly play out that way early. We needed time to be here and kind of continually delivering on the promises that we make to players every day to build trust with the community and get to where we are. When it comes to, I guess, what was the other question you asked?
Well, the trust for you guys, and just sort of the narrative and the conversations you guys have with regulators, because a lot of people are under
Yep.
the impression that that if I
Oh, yeah,
wanted
it's
to,
unregulated.
I could just whip up a Web3 casino tomorrow and just like boom, have it up and
Right.
running. So
Right.
if you could
Yep.
just speak to like the the
Yeah.
regulatory hoops that you guys have to jump through, all the
No, it's, yeah, it's,
it's a shit show in a good and bad way. Good because you guys are obviously getting checked, and bad because it's so much effort. But again, that's the game you're playing in.
yep.
KYCing users, blah blah blah. I'd love if you could just walk through all that.
Yeah, yeah. It's not that simple. It's not that simple to set up an actual, like I said, the technology is supposed to democratize the whole situation for the betterment of the player, and to make things cheaper, to make things more efficient, to get more competition into the space. But of course, I mean, especially with crypto in general, in a way, I feel like crypto's under attack as a whole, at times, especially during bear markets. But I mean, there's a resistance there to acknowledge the legitimacy of the approach of some of the operators in this space. But it's not easy necessarily to get all the licensing set up, to set up all of the systems, not only technology but people who are the experts, who kind of blend and find that happy balance of business process and cutting edge tech that combines both, like, all the stuff from the fiat world with all the stuff from the crypto world. Because I want to mention, Roobet doesn't exclusively have crypto. We have fiat too. We do have credit cards. So we kind of look at ourselves as we have to do it all. And I would argue that our user base is probably more sophisticated when it comes to technology, like just the ways of the internet, if you will, than the average bear. So when it comes to the fraud teams, 24/7, just monitoring all transactions, the compliance team, constant communication with different sort of regulative bodies and the licensor, and all of those sort of all the back channels that have to exist in order to be constantly kind of managing for the different types of risks that exist in the industry, especially because, like I said, it is easy for casino to be a target. I think we have to be some of the best in the space at this. And that's where I feel, Rue really stands out and can lead. And I hope, like I said, in the chats that we have offline with other people in the space who maybe are operators, like some of the ones that you're talking about. Not everybody's familiar with crypto, and they generally have legit sort of like newcomer type questions. And the ways that we blend technology together to constantly be watching the inflow and outflow from the platform, that's part of the reason why I think casinos are such a good use case for blockchain, is because of public ledgers. It's easier than ever. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Anybody can see it. It's like, imagine, think about concepts like source of funds and, like watching the inflows and outflows for fiat. Fiat, it's all on the payment processor. It's just not public. It's kind of behind a closed door. It's arguably one of the worst.
Think about the cash too, though. Like, you go to a casino, you get a bunch of cash.
Right.
Like, if they don't want you to get paid out. Look, there's a casino here in Mexico. I've never been, just because it's not a good idea to go to a cartel-ran Mexican casino. I have a couple of buddies who've gone. You win four figures. You think you're getting that money? No, God, no. Like,
right.
you gotta walk past guys with AR-15s in their hand. Like,
right.
You're a gringo. You're gone. And again, bad example. Obviously, I went to the absolute extreme, but like the blockchains, it's everything's there. It's fully transparent. Go take a peek. You can see for yourself. You can see inflows. You can see outflows. That's one thing I do love as well. It's just the narrative, though, because again, you have the companies who did scams. You have the companies that a lot of guys raised a shit ton of money, had a lot of user funds, and vanished. Sipping Mai Tais on an island in Thailand, and you're never going to see or hear from them again. Wash a bunch of the money using Tornado Cash or whatever the case may be. But it's like, it takes every day that goes by, and platforms like you guys stay alive and provide a really good, efficient, fun service for their community, customers, and clients. It's like, gets a little bit better. 1% every day, 1% every day, and then years down the road, like, it's DraftKings and everyone else is going to have no choice but to realistically put crypto payment rails on their platform. Right? Or everyone will just move to you guys. So I'm excited for that day to come, and it's it's a really good and interesting use case. I concur with that.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean, I hope someday I can go to Vegas and deposit in Doge. I
Yeah,
think it's
that'd be a
coming.
trip.
I don't know
That'd be
when.
a treat. Maddie,
Yeah.
great episode, man. We are getting tight for time. Anything else before we wrap up? You guys are always shipping at a pretty lightning fast pace. Anything, again, this episode's going to
Yeah.
air on Thursday the 4th, I believe. So you and I are recording a week before here, but anything popping off that you want to let our listeners know about before we let you go?
I really appreciate you having me on. I appreciate basically everybody listening who knows of Roobet and, kind of sees us out in the community and shows us love. And long live Bitcoin, long live crypto. Let's go. I'm excited to see what this summer does. I don't know. It's either going to do nothing or it's like I said, it's bubbling. When my grandma texts me about Ethereum, I know something's going on. So,
Yeah. Things are a little different this time, though. We got TradFi in, we got Larry Fink shilling our coins on mainstream media. I mean, like also I'm a big interest rates kind of guy in regards to I have a bit of a TradFi background in regards to how it affects the markets. Interest rates are still incredibly high, some of the highest they've been in, 2 decades, and we're still ripping. So the Fed's supposed to cut, I think, 2 or 3 more times this year, another 4 to 5 times in 2025. If that happens, I mean, strap in, put your seatbelts on, we're all systems go, baby. So it should be pretty fun. But Maddie, pumped to have you on. This was a blast. I know we barely scratched the surface. We'll have to have you on for round 2 and get into more of the nitty gritty stuff. And I look forward to that. But before we let you go, can you please let our listeners know where they can find you personally and Roobet online and on socials?
Yeah, for me personally, I try to get up the occasional Medium post, so you can just find me on there. But generally, I always push everybody just to the Roobet Twitter. We like to play around on there, give away money, try to make the community fun. So yeah, you'll find us there, and don't be a stranger.
You got it. And guys, the Twitter is just Roobet. They snag the handles. It's ROOBET, and that's Roobet. Maddie, thanks again. Appreciate the time, mate, and can't wait for round 2.
Thank you. All right, man. Take care.
Folks, what an episode with Matt Duea from Roobet's entrepreneur, co-founder of Roobet. Absolutely crushed it. Folks, I really enjoyed this one. I hope you did as well. We touched on everything Web3 casinos, sports betting, crypto gambling, the future of crypto gambling, regulations, of course, all their really cool partnerships that they're working on as well, social casinos, the difference between Web3 and Web2 gambling. We love to see it. Huge shout out to Maddie and the team for making this happen. To the listeners, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, please do subscribe. It would mean the world to my team and I. Speaking of the team, love you guys. Thank you so much for everything. Eustace, you're the man. And back to the listeners, love you guys. As always, keep on growing those bags. Keep on printing money. It's printing season, baby. And keep on staying healthy, wealthy, and happy. Bye for now, and we'll talk soon.